said it now. He said, think he'd have his thoughts on it, so.
Yeah, no one goes to, in Elizabethtown, no one goes to a law firm to do a deed search or anything of that sort unless they're genuinely interested. Or there had to be some conversation. So we're not getting the full story somewhere. I mean, a person is just not going to go to an attorney, hey, listen, do a deed search on this. And then they found out what Mr. Grady explained just a moment ago. That evidently they were looking to sell at one time. Yeah. And eventually there's been some conversations, whether it's been collectively as a group or individually.
Yeah, so definitely somebody on that side had some kind of interest apparently to reach out to a firm like that. But,
okay, because you pay for that. You pay for a title search. That's not.
I can do an additional follow-up and just, report back to you all. If I get something before the next meeting, just share it with you. If not, I can bring it back next meeting, just let you know. But I think they need to have a vote. Like I said, if they haven't voted or something, they need to, let us know that. But apparently there was something somebody in that organization was doing at some point to petition this request.
So Jason, what are we trying to do?
I mean, we just gave notice that we had a request to do a deed modification, but like I said, that's all we have at this point. That was Mr. Gray received that from that firm. So,
but how can an individual request a deed modification if they don't own the property?
That I don't know.
Anybody can request.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just like, you can't do it. You can't go in and change it because the owner or the person that has possessed it.
And so what would happen is that if there's interest in property, before you're going to pay that title search, you're going to have a contract purchase.
Right.
And they did send me, and I just looked at the attachment of aerial photograph of kind of the area they're interested in. But beyond that, that was, again, I think we mentioned months ago, that's the first time I've had any call or anything like that. So that's where it's at.
I'll just do a follow-up on behalf of the board and share that with y'all. I said just usually I said you have an organization that would potentially do that. That would be on their end because it would be the request for it from them. But that's where we are.
Everybody good? Any more discussion? All right, we'll move on to action item 9.01, approval of revised board policy 7940. Dr. Axel.
Thank you, Chairman, Secretary, and board members. As discussed last month, 7940 was the policy on classified personnel suspension dismissal. Obviously, the main desire was obviously look at further defining what those days were. I actually was in another board policy and found how they define the days. And I said, well, I think that apparently spells it out. It's just amazing how another policy had defined those kind of days. And so we have two drafts before us. Both are the same in terms of that additional language. One does have, there was some discussion about days. And if you define the days, potentially doing a reduction in that number of days. And so draft A of policy 7940, the section that was added to both part A and part B was days are the working days, exclusive of Saturdays, Sundays, vacation days, or holidays, as set forth in the employee's employment calendar. In counting days, the first day will be the first full working day following receipt of a suspension notice. And then section B says the same thing about termination notice. Draft B also has that same language. In draft A, it has 5 days, which 5 days for suspension for an appeal. And again, that will start the working day after. And then same thing on termination. Under draft B, suspension is 5 days and termination is 10 days. And I need to yield to Mr. Gray just for clarification on our policy. I know we discussed this policy last month and we brought back drafts. I just want clarification on our adoption policy, just so make sure we're right. Mr. Gray, since we discussed it, but we have the 2 drafts tonight, but these need to go on the table again for 30 days and then brought back next month to vote. So, all right, so we would like to request that, just want to make sure we're in line with our policy, that we place these 2 drafts on the table for Again, unless there's something, if there's something else you all see to clarify, I think that was the biggest thing that was mentioned last time. And if y'all are fine with that section, that we request that you all place this on the table. And then we brought back in April for consideration of which direction the board would like to go.
We'll get a motion on the table to table draft A and draft B to the next till April's meeting for review and approval.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
We didn't open it up for discussion.
That's right. I apologize. Any discussion, guys?
How much trouble have we had with this policy that we need to update it? We had very much trouble, Dr. Atkinson, that you've ran into.
I have not. I know that there was, obviously this question about making sure that, define those days. We've always tried to use a good rule of thumb. If something was to fall on a weekend or holiday, I often would talk to Mr. Grady, much like he shares that the court system, courts are closed a certain day. We kind of just been working off administrative procedure. I think the question last time was to kind of further define those days so that it was a little more direct in terms of folks understanding those days. But to my knowledge, during my tenure in this position, I have not had any issues where that has been a concern. And like I said, we've tried to give the benefit of the doubt if we have a situation like that. But we have not had any issues that I'm aware of from me. But again, that was, and this section actually comes, I think it's the grievance policy that actually has this language here about the days, and they're defined there. So,
And employees are aware of that. They get a copy of that.
yes, sir. They get a copy. The policy is always attached to any kind of notice for that they would have.
If I may to add to that, even if there has been no issues in the past, it doesn't mean that there can't be issues in the future. As it's written, there's a lot of gray area, which he presented to us tonight with draft A and draft B. It's more defined. It's very specific. And to me, it is the direction. Obviously, I would think that was a better way to go, because whenever you're writing policies, and you all do this a lot more, and you've been doing this, as you said, a number of years, just because, same thing, we could use this for a car. We don't wait until the tire blows out. We do an inspection on it, and we see a need to replace it or to change it or whatever, and you do those types of things. And with this policy, the way that it was written, there were definitely, even though for 10 years, 20 years, I think it was adopted, 2009? And it was revised the latest revision was almost 6 years ago. So just because it's not been an issue in the past doesn't mean that it doesn't have the potential to be an issue in the future. And also, you said that, I think last time, you give grace and some of those other things, professional judgment. This eliminates the need for all of that. So it's consistent for everyone. So it doesn't matter. We talked about perception and being subjective versus actually what's written in the policy. It just makes it cut and dry. This is what we're going to do. And we've covered everything under the sun, I would think, with the revision that you presented to us.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we've got a vote that a motion that was made, a motion seconded, granted there was no discussion, but it passed. So I think probably if the board wants to discuss not tabling this matter, there needs to be a motion for reconsideration on the vote to table.
Motion to reconsider table.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to reconsider tabling this motion. All those in favor by signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Ayes have it. Motion carries. So the policy will stay as it is.
Wait,
Now, we talking about.
no, that was not.
The move to not table it now, we're gonna put it back on the table.
Well, and Mr. Grady can correct me, if the
Yeah.
board wants to take action tonight, we'll have to have a vote to set aside policy. for the purpose of adopting a policy change.
The vote now is just to review it.
Right.
Anyway,
It'll be-
we'll
Take
take it off the table.
Right.
Yeah,
And then we vote to take it off the table, so. can't
Right.
review it now.
well,
Wait,
I mean, we took it off the table. We reconsidered that because there wasn't a discussion. So now I think the board can reconsider it. And there could be a motion to table, a second to table, there can be a discussion, then you can either table it or not. If you don't table it, then you are essentially violating your policy if you take action on it tonight, unless you suspend the policy by majority vote and take action.
Make a motion table.
Second.
Second. There's a motion on the table to table draft A and draft B. Is there any discussion?
And just to be clear, what this means is that we'll have this presented to us next month at our next meeting for actual vote,
Correct.
whether to move forward.
We'll bring it back next month, have you all vote, take it back off the
Right.
table, and then we'll take a vote on whichever motion, whichever direction the board want to go. With an A, a B, or retain the current policy.
is that some more, is that we, any other policies that we have? I think we talked about the Hispanic. Where they were, well, who questioned them when law enforcement doing the
That
question?
is something we're working on, Mr. Rhoda. Mr. Gray is looking to, some information about questioning students. I have started some review on other districts. And really the only district, in that one that, speaks to question students was Lee County. But there is some statutory language that Mr. Gray is going to review. We're looking at bringing that back, that one to you all next month. We want to make sure we have that information correct. And propose a couple of drafts to y'all next month about specifics with questioning students. I think there was some question about parent notification before parent being present. I know the statute, a little bit, I had already looked at the statute. You know, there's some things about a lot of students that is under the age of 16 that would or would not be admissible versus that. And so I know Mr. Gray was doing some research. So our plan is to bring a couple of drafts to you all next month for discussion, review, and then do the same kind of thing to where it will speak specifically about questions. So he wants to just look at the statute to make sure, like I said, nobody else except Lee County on the same ones we've used. It actually talks about, and theirs is about questioning students for a non-school matter. It doesn't say everything. So I think we just need to get some clarity on that, and that will be good to have in that policy too. So.
Well, my thing was last meeting was instead of giving Hispanic kids the same rights that all other kids.
Well, and we will, that
think that-
the relationship with law enforcement policy. The policies on the immigration enforcement. You know, those were some things that they had shared with us to review. There's not been anything else from the School Board Association regarding that set of policies. And we have not, actually, surprisingly, have not heard any more about that taking place in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. But, you know, we were looking to see if they were going to issue an additional guidance. But the one we were talking about, that was a part of that was wrote I think it's 5120. But that policy even goes deeper to any student that may be questioned. And our policy is vague. Everybody else's is vague with the exception of Lee County. And theirs really just talks about questioning for a non-school matter. It says there'll be no questioning for a non-school matter on school premises at all. And so, you know, I mean, Mr. Grant was doing some research, and there's and just my little bit, I was looking at the statute. There's a lot of language around, but we want to make sure we had a good concrete feel on that. So our plan is to bring 5120 back to you all next month with a couple of drafts that talk about questioning students and put that in our actual, potentially put that in our policy, because right now we have nothing except for there'll be an attempt made to contact the parent. That's what it says right now.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that's been moved and seconded at the table. Action item 9.01 to the next meeting in April. Discussion has been had. Can I get all those in favor? I signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
I got 2 noes. Motion carries. We'll add it to next month's agenda for review and we'll vote on it. All right, we'll move on to action item 9.02, approval of revised board policy 2230. Dr. Axe.
Thank you, Chairman, and board members. In like fashion, the same thing with policy 2230. There was discussion regarding no standing committees versus defined committees. You had two proposed drafts. Draft A has and we saw in the matrix it was kind of split across different districts, depending a lot of about size was several things they looked at. But you have under draft A, the statement that several had, the board has no standing committees, but under B, that the chairperson can appoint a special committee, or obviously the board could do the same thing as well. And so that remains there under, in our policy, it's addressed, and the words special and ad hoc are used interchangeably on some of these. And then draft B has three standing committees, which we currently have now. It's just renamed those to be a little more succinct. Facilities, that would do anything dealing with facilities, maintenance, curriculum, and student services. So draft B defines those with those three names. Draft A has that there's no standing committees. And again, in like fashion, we would ask you all to place these two drafts on the table and then bring those back or have time to review, and then bring those back to remove from the table and any kind of consideration at the next board meeting. So you have two versions: A, no standing committees; B, the three standing committees. They've just been renamed and they're tied up some of that language that's there. Basically, they address the same functions as the three we have basically listed right now in the current policy.
I get a motion on the board, on the table to table 9.02.
Second.
Any discussion?
Last revision for this was 2009 as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been doing some work on these, and there's several that they have not revised in a while. I don't know, obviously, we get sets of policies as they do a lot of things with legislative change. But my plan is to finish that up. We've had some revisions since I started on that with the last set of custom policies. But my plan is just to share that with y'all for information, a chart of our policies and the dates they were last modified that we have.
Okay, so when is the last time, since we're talking about this board committees, when was the last time that the actual standing committee met? I think last time when we asked the question, it said it's not often or no one remembered.
I believe in the facilities met, it's been over a year, I know. And that was related to some things with Tar Heel and some facility concerns. I believe that was the last one, if I remember correctly.
It's been about a year.
All right, so it's been about a year roughly. All right, so if my question now is, if we had committees in place and the policy was still, we didn't talk about any revision until maybe January, again, last month. How is it that we went a whole year without the committees who, was in place, then meeting?
I think it came down to if it was a necessity, if we needed to meet, if there was something going on in individual school, then we would have had a meeting. So I don't think there's actually been a need to have a meeting unless there was just a lot of things that was occurring inside of a school or depending on what it may be. So that's really the reason that we've had them before. I think I was a part of one right when I got elected, and I think that was it. But as far as other than that, I mean, that was the only reason is we had a need to call. I can't remember what it was about. It could have been what the ongoing stuff at Tar Heel. I can't remember different things. But anyway, that was.
I think I definitely understand with the special committees meeting as needed, but it's defined that we have standing committees. And so in my mind, as a standing committee, there's an obligation to meet, whether it's once a month, once a quarter, and then we transition to a full year and no meetings. then that falls in the category of a, I would think, as needed, a special committee. So how did we transition from standing committees and then group those with the policy as it's written, group those and just transition of we're gonna do this or conduct it as a special meeting?
And historically, I know there have not been a.
Special committee, I'm sorry.
Right. Historically, there have not been a lot of committee meetings. There hasn't been a meetings. I know a lot of things, especially when we got into Tar Heel, ended up requiring a lot of full board action. We had a thing with septic. We had the situation out at the field house area. But those teams, I think curriculum may have met a little bit before then when they were looking at new ELA curriculum, which this is year 2. So that was done. I believe this is their second year on that. So that was definitely 2 years ago that they last met, I believe. So it's just there's not been a standing schedule for those committees to meet. But I mean, I think at this point, it would give, and that was kind of, there's some discussion that we even had and some meetings we were asking about, do your boards have committees, not have committees, kind of what's the norm and how do you take things to full board? So larger systems obviously have that's like a committee that committee then brings the recommendation. So it's kind of been a little bit of everywhere. So that's why, we just at this point said, maybe again, one of those policies has been quite dated for some time. If you do have standing committees, would you define that policy maybe that it'll be on a quarterly basis at the minimum? So that could even be defined in one of those drafts as well. So, because that's even not defined now in the current policy, just says you have these, but doesn't have that these committees will meet, twice a year, 3 times a year,
It just has in here that the chairperson will call meetings and establish the agenda.
That's all we have.
Whoever the chairperson is, that's who calls the meeting.
So the thing is, 2 years of a standing committee and it's like dormant. Surely there's been something that's taken place that warranted getting the committee. Otherwise, why have a committee?
Well, I think what's happening is Benny's brought things to our attention when it comes to whether it's replacing air conditioning or if it's being the septic issue we had at West. It's actually came to the full board and we've actually approved it through all of us. So and nothing, I'm gonna say this about committees, when you got 3 people or 4 people on the committee and we have a meeting and we've got to get that information back to everybody. And it's tough because everybody's not a part of the meeting. So there's a lot of, we weren't there, we didn't hear, we didn't see. So there's a lot of broken, communication. So when we have things and Minnie's brought it to our attention, he stood up here, he says, hey, we're getting bids on ABC, this is what we're looking at. And then he goes back on the agenda the following meeting, or if it's special, then we do what we got to do. So that's why, having committees is a necessity when we need to be here, like curriculum. When we had the new curriculum that come out a year and a half ago, we had a curriculum meeting when we were dealing with certain issues inside the schools. Benny, he was making us aware. We put him on the agenda. He brought it to our attention and we got full board support. And then that way we didn't have to sit here and talk about it. If it's a necessity, I'm going to say, hey, we need to create it so we can talk about it individually. But if it's something that he can bring to the board at a meeting and we can get it approved and move it faster and swifter through the process, and that's what we'll do. If it's an emergency and there's an issue, then yeah, we'd have a committee. But at this time, Benny's been handling the business on the maintenance parts and different things, and he brings it to us and we approve it and the full board understands. He gives us the full communication and then he goes out and takes care of the process to make it happen from that standpoint. So that's kind of how it's been since I've been in tenure for 2 years and a little bit. So to me, full board approval, full board attention, him being here and giving it to us is or whomever it may be, makes it easier for everybody. So
I can definitely understand the difference between the need of having a standing committee versus a special committee. But I guess the more the dialogue has gone in and we've shared, it's been a year since one committee met, 2 years since another committee met. Maybe it's just me. I'm not going to serve on the board or in the committee and we not meet for a year. I chair a committee and we not meet for 2 years. The light bulb should have went off and somebody, we need to meet. We need to get together and have some conversation. I mean, that's why you have the committee in place. That to me is,
Well, I think if there's a need, there's.
it doesn't say based on need.
willingness to.
It's,
But Gary, you had a,
Well, I mean, the motion on the table
yeah,
is, the motion is a motion to table, and I think the discussion needs to be whether or not you're gonna table the motion.
yeah,
I think when you're talking about the merits of the, policy, that should be coming to the next meeting.
yes, sir. So it's been brought to the floor, it's been seconded, discussion has been had. All those in favor of, tabling it to the next meeting, saying aye. All opposed? Okay, got one note. All right, motion carries. We'll reconvene at the next meeting on these two policies. Okay. All right, we will go into closed session. Go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel as per NCGS 143.318.11 to consult with an attorney if needed as per NCGS 143.318.11 and to discuss the student reassignment and student discipline as per the 1974 Family Rights and Privacy Act.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion on the floor?
Second.
Second. We are now in closed session. approve, action item, 11.01.
So moved.
I got, a second, any discussion? All those in favor, I signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, he left. Yeah, if he's coming back, we're gonna try to get him back next
Okay,
month.
yeah.
Action item 12, matters of interest to board members.
I'm with, you, Mr. Singletary. If I haven't said it or any other board member, we should be very proud of what the county's doing and wish our sporting teams the best of luck.
Absolutely. It's a pretty cool thing that, we could both be playing in state championships on Friday and Saturday. Our East Bladen ladies will start it off tomorrow at 4:00. And I think there is a site out there you can pay a membership to that does, stream the game. So that'll be out, I'm sure.
I'll get that link, share it with you all.
Everybody will look at. I think, that team has put a lot of work in. They've had to travel the last two events and, they've showed up, very well. And we're looking forward to that. And also, Thursday afternoon to the West Bladen, boys basketball team. It was a great game at Farmville. It's hard to go somewhere twice and win the second time in the environment. Yeah, so hats off to the coaches, the kids and the parents and both East and West. Certainly putting the work in, and the results are out there as well. So we're looking forward to seeing those. Just a point that was brought up to me as far as and I know I probably should put this on the chair report, but I know, and many of you might can speak to this, but I know East Middle School, East Middle is supposed to have a bleacher. We're supposed to have some bleachers fixed. When we were at Farmville, if anybody that was there, and you can look at it because there's a lot of footage on Facebook and different things, but there were actual runways through just sort of like East and West where there were partitions between where people could climb. Because if you go to the middle school, there's not really, you have to go up one side to go to the other side, or you got to crawl across. There's no in between. So I'm not sure what we're doing to that to enhance that, but it's something to look at to make sure we're being safe. Of course, we're giving runways for folks to climb up those bleachers. So just I don't know if I know that was something that was talked about some time ago. I'm not sure if that's still in the process or not. Maybe you could give Jason an update. He could send it out to us for review from that standpoint. That's all I've got from a matter of interest from my standpoint. So
I know I'd sent an email on half a days for Tuesday and Friday. What are our thoughts on that?
And we've actually talked to both high school principals, and they have, as of right now, they have worked through being able to work through those staff to attend, and gotten coverage. We've had an incredible year with weather delays. Now, I'm thankful that the weather didn't get bad the other day, but all reports had us where we felt like we couldn't be in school. But I'm thankful and blessed that it didn't happen. But it has really impacted our time. If it got to a point where we could not operate and still, because we do have a field trip opportunity where some kids actually could potentially also attend. I know Mr. Ork is looking at the same thing for West Bladen on Thursday. Talking to him today, he said that we felt they had everything covered to at least get those last couple hours. I think even maybe some of those, they're even maybe planning to stream that game for some students even to stay at school and be able to watch that game in the afternoon. Now, the challenge is that if we do have to early release, it could impact the last 5 days we've got early release for exams. We may have to take that away or cut some of those away. And right now we've got that set to be district wide. We feel like we're going to be okay. Now, Friday will maybe be a different story. If East Bladen wins Tuesday, East Bladen will be in a championship. They could potentially be playing at 12 o'clock. And we felt like maybe even on a championship game, there may be more even in the community that may want to attend. maybe from other schools. So we do have a potential option. There is another work day in a couple weeks on a Friday. Our teacher work day is already set. What we could do if East Bladen was to win, and this would also allow folks that wanted, and also if West wins, that will allow folks also to go ahead and travel and be in that area, or maybe want to go see both games because there'll be 2 days back to back. What we could look at doing is doing a administrative calendar change, and we just swap that teacher work day that's a couple weeks out to Friday. And then we just come to school that day, and then you wouldn't have any loss of time. We just basically shift that day. And that wouldn't impact us at all because that's already a day that's built into the instructional hours. We did have Ms. Kirby check Ms. Brown and I did today, and it would kind of put us at a potential deficit because we do have a couple of days still built in for weather, just in case. And so we reclaim that one back from February. But right now, it looks like we're okay. But if it sees where we're not, we may have to make a change there. And it might be where there's also another half day before that work day. And then think about this. If we had to declare that, we could potentially make that a full day to make that difference up. So we do have a couple options there to regain that back if we need to. We definitely can be in touch with you all if we feel like we're getting to a point where there won't be enough adequate staff. We may get make that call. If that's good with you all, we can definitely do that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure it was,
Yeah.
We had that taken care of.
Right.
Give people a chance to go that wanted to go and
Right.
didn't feel burdened.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. And obviously Friday, because we want East to win tomorrow night so they can play for state championship. And we want West to win Thursday. So that will be a cool option on Friday and then give everybody a chance to travel from that stand. And the same thing tomorrow and Thursday. If they want to go, then we principals and anybody should understand that and give them a chance to do what needs to happen.
And I know that they're, committed, and they've done that in the past when they've had a playoff game. I miss it used to be all these were Fridays and Saturdays, and now they've kind of spread out across the week, with the changes and everything. But, we'll probably know sure about Friday once, East Bladen plays tomorrow, so we can go ahead and make that call. We'll have a little bit of advance notice if the families can make those adjustments if we need to make that switch.
You said you reached out to the principals for both high schools. How many teachers are planning to attend?
Ms. Brown was at about 10 to 12 maybe,
10 to
and I think
12.
they've got it covered.
But they've got subs for each classroom.
Now, are they submitting leave for this or are they going to chaperone?
They have to submit.
No, we have to cover them, and it'll be personally, there's no deduction to them for that.
So they don't lose anything for it. Yeah.
Okay.
We just have to document it because the state requires to document anytime they have instructions there.
Okay.
But it's not deducting anything from employees.
I did, well, he was ready. Yeah, I was giving him courtesy to go first. I want to go back. Where you done? To go back to our meeting that we had with Bladen Community College sometime last month, there were some things that were said during that time that I wanted to bring out. I think Dr. Lee said that there's a total of 1/3 of juniors and seniors that take at least one collegiate level course while they're in high school. But the goal, and I think you agreed, is to have all high school students to take at least one collegiate level course prior to graduating. Looking at and those that don't know, the Korean College Promise Program is something that is near and dear to me. I worked with that program for a number of years. Just seeing these enrollment numbers and where we are at East Bladen and how they are definitely at a disadvantage in comparison to West Bladen with CTE. I'm just going to concentrate on that for now. I think that with CTE, and I had a very lengthy conversation, just general conversation with, what's her name, this principal at East Bladen, Ms. Spalding. And of course, any student with CTE, if they don't have the grade point requirement, I think it's 2.8, then they have to have the approval of the principal or his or her designee. So the principal has the autonomy to go in and to waive that requirement to give students another route. That's put in place for a reason because the state has looked at measures from the community college system as well as from DPI and have said that this is, even though this is a standard, there has to be another way to allow the student to take advantage of these courses. And I think Ms. Spalding, in conversation with her, she shared some things and I 100% understand if students don't perform well, that could could cause them to be delayed in graduating or something maybe missed. They're not prioritizing things. So I know she may have some hesitancy in signing off on those waivers for students. The thing is, with that being a standard for everyone, or if you're just not going to sign the waiver, then it hurts a lot of students who have good intentions of going and performing well. We know that not every student is going to go to a four-year college, but we need welders, we need carpenters, all those CTE programs. And those are programs that we may have at the high school, we may not have those. Just to see where we are, we were at 34 at East Bladen in 2020, 16, 2021, 2023, we're down to 8. So there are different calibers of students that go to the college transfer and then CTE. And I'm just afraid that we're blocking students from pre-collegiate level courses that could benefit them in the long run because of the experience of a handful or a few of those students.
Right.
I wanted to talk maybe the idea of putting, just to go over this, welders in 2029, there are going to be 80,000 jobs that need to be filled. Electrician, there's going to experience a growth of 11% between 2023 and 2033. Cosmetologist, 19% growth between 2020 and 2030. The job market is changing drastically. We used to think the longer you go to college, the more money you'll make. That's not the case. And these students have a prime opportunity to advance academically, to get the occupational skills training. And again, this is at no cost to them. But I want to say, they're not given the opportunity based on previous experiences. So I would love to see that revisited. It may be that we could have, before she signs off, and this is, I can't tell folks what to do, but just to consider maybe meeting with the parents now versus the students saying, I'm going to do the right thing, have the parents say, hey, listen, your son or daughter does not meet this requirement according to state standard. However, we need your buy-in, and if so, we'll do this on the probationary period for 1 semester, just to give them that opportunity. Those CTE programs definitely matter. I think I can't remember who did a presentation some time ago about CTE to talk about Skills USA and all that. So now, and this is going to count as college credit once they graduate, so they've already advanced towards a certificate, degree, or diploma. Whenever I see these numbers, Bladen County also shared another document with us. Bladen County, our median household income is well below the threshold for the state. We have 62.5 in comparison to 77.1% of individuals who have access to the internet. Child poverty, the state level is 17.6% with 35.3. These kids need training and they need access to it. The college is willing to do it, but we're saying in a nutshell that you don't meet the full qualifications. The state put those guards, those secondary options in place for a reason, because they were well aware that every student may not test well. They may not have a 2.8 grade point average, but they may be able to perform well in these classes. Just food for thought. I think that we definitely need to go back and revisit that. And again, principals have the autonomy whether or not they're going to sign off on it, but to see where West Bladen is and to see where East Bladen is, I think we were talking about the number of students that are enrolled at West Bladen, overall the number of students at East Bladen, and that percentages may be a little bit different, but there is something else that I think could be done to be sure that these students could take advantage of these opportunities.
Yeah, and we've definitely, in fact, Ms. Mize is at a professional development. I've asked her to do a report next month on our CT programs and with the partnership with BCC and kind of show some enrollment trends that are taking place there. And you're right, there is a difference, about 200 students difference in enrollment. But, you know, one thing I think that I believe in just generally, I hadn't dug into it deep. I do know that a lot of our students do take advantage of the on-campus courses, but there's not college credit for that unless BCCs come to the campus. One thing we did a couple of years ago to remove a barrier for students who maybe like transportation is we're running buses day back and forth between East Bladen and West Bladen back, so that transportation is not a barrier for any kid that wants to take advantage of that.
Right.
I do agree that I think that, and I don't know that was necessarily maybe communicated as clearly to us. I know there's been, and you've been in a lot, there's some back and forth. I know there's some pending legislation now about FTEs too counting.
Right.
But you know, there are some waiver opportunities like you mentioned, and it might be because we have to use this as well now for a 3-year graduation, that there is a conversation with the parent. And you know, let's try a course if it works well for you, but understanding if you don't pass this course, you're not going. not only will that impact a college transcript, that will also impact your high school. But you know, having that windows, I even think that at one point there used to be it was a 2.0 to 2.8 window, or there was a window even beyond the threshold. Now, I know there was some discussion in a meeting I was in. We had a meeting with superintendents and community college presidents the end of February. We're in Greensboro. And there was some talk about taking some of those restrictions totally out altogether. Because I'll tell you, some of these career paths, got students that can graduate, they can have taken advantage of CCP, CT side, walk out, had a certification and take a step to a job, 80,000 to 100,000 or more out the gate, where folks are going, someone going to education, 4 years of college, comes out, starting salary, what, 35,000?
With student loans.
With student loans. And so, you know, there's definitely value now. I think, and, you know, we had talked about trying to have an opportunity where administrators and BCC side and our side kind of sat down and talked through some additional things we could put to try to increase that enrollment. Because right now, you know, it's tuition free.
Right.
And at this point, the commissioners, Dr. Lee requested this on East and West that, you know, on the CCP side, that those textbooks are now being covered by the county. I don't know if they're going to continue. We did it for a while with our ESSER dollars, and the county picked it up this past year. And that also takes away any cost.
Right.
And also, it's totally free. It costs a parent a dime, which is huge. Back when I went to pay for my daughter's, she's in the CCP program, I'm going to go pay for her books. I was told there was no balance. I said, that can't be right. And that's how I learned that they had done that on their end. And so that's definitely a win-win, because it is an investment in the community on behalf of the county and us. I mean, we're making provisions, I think, because we don't get reimbursed for that transportation. So that's a cost that the district's bearing because it's not, you know, yellow bus transportation all the way there. You know, we're doing that back and forth. So I think that we need to maximize that, because there's definitely plenty of room for more students to go. So I think having that conversation would be helpful to find out, you know, what more can we do and have that kind of trial in there to say, you know, yeah, you maybe didn't hit this 2.8, but you're at a 2.1. Why don't you give it a shot? Parents, are you okay with it? Get the parent to sign off? Maybe have, like we do sometimes with attendance contract with students, have that kind of thing in place. And we'll do this for you to try to support you in this college course and see if they can do that.
So now we do have 55 students per CTE alone from East Bladen that are interested in attending those courses over at BCC. It'll be interesting to see when the final report is done, how many of the 55 were approved to go to BCC. And hopefully we won't be at 19 or 8, 16 in those low numbers again, because it's such a large pool of students.
And we are going through now the high school registration process, and now's the time for them to start signing up.
Right.
So, you know, that probably the true test now to see what that enrollment was like moving into the new academic year. So that'd be good.
This is something that I got to when I was there. Was, you know, there's obviously they have to go out and talk to schools and recruit and do different things, and there's some barriers out there. Being a sports guy, and there's a lot of kids that want to go to Bladen Early High School and want to be a part of that, or Bladen Early College. I'm sorry, our third high school in Bladen County, and whenever we mention the fact that can we play sports and come and be your part, so that's a barrier. That's not an option. So I've sort of pushed that back to Dr. Atkinson to see if that's something that maybe we could support as far as moving forward. At least give kids an option to do that. Therefore, that could bring enrollment up as well from that standpoint. So it's tough because West and BCC is like right there. Right. It's a tougher transition from East, but options we could talk, but we got to start somewhere to see where it could carry us, because you never know who's in those classrooms and what they can do and those type of things. So that's something that I kind of push back to is let's see if that's an option. What can we do? How can we overcome that? And what barriers can we remove to give that opportunity out?
I think it's our best option, man, because when people go to 4-year universities, man, they don't come back here. But the people that's going to these CTE programs and taking up these trades, they'll live in Bladen County. But the people that go to the university, they don't come here. I mean, what percentage of them come back here?
Unless they're a teacher, there's really nothing that their job come back.
There was something I think we discussed, was it last month, in relation to either a pass or it's coming down the pipeline with homeschool students being able to participate in sports activities, extracurricular activities at
Legislation or
the,
something.
yeah, at the high school. So that would be with the early college. Just kind of,
Right, and one thing that, we're trying to get clarity from the High School Athletic Association, the board could easily do this with a vote, once I know that, is, we're trying to get a direct answer in terms of classification. Like, right now, in the new year, East Bladen will be, retain their classification. West Bladen will actually transition to 3A. They've gone to 8A, 8 over, used to be 4.
Right.
Is there any impact on that in terms of classification? I don't think so, but I want to get clarity. And then all we have to do really, because Ms. Cheshire, and I've talked to Ms. Cheshire about this, they're committed to getting the students. So if their home attendance area is technically East Bladen, she said, I'll make sure those kids get to East Bladen for practice, get there in time for the bus for games, whatever. Same thing with West Bladen. And so once we get that clarity, it could be as simple as us taking a vote to open the door for early college to try out for sports in their home attendance area. And I think that if anything, those are our current students now. That would be a move in the right direction for them, versus that homeschool's got to buy a piece of legislation that has not passed yet, we're aware of. But even this is something internal, and that might help, because one of the barriers that I have is there's parents that's interested, because there's some differences. Mr. Thomas, you work with quite a bit. There's some differences between early college and the CCP. But even in that, a lot of students are deterred from the early college because of the athletics. Say, well, I want to play softball. I want to, and really the only thing we've offered them now, and I didn't have enough to get started, was we did offer the bowling to them, which I know they were. But I do think that that's something we can kind of work through and bring back to you all for a vote. Like I said, I'm hoping to get a direct answer from High School Athletic Association. It's hard to catch the right person on our interpretation of that policy, but I think that's something that the board could easily do. And I think it's happened in a couple other districts already.
Yes, sir. It's already.
And I think that that's something we could easily do, and that would make it an even playing field. But if a child desired, I want to go to early college because that model worked for me and my family, more so than CCP, it's more saturated in that day. And that would be an option for them too.
All right.
I'm waiting on a report from Mr. Renner.
About lakes.
I know all of them, Jason.
Are you talking about with stuff to, I know Bladen Lake needs a steamer.
So what there?
You said it was several schools that said it.
Yeah, East Town Middle. But the way I was told, it was all the schools except West, East, and Tar Heel Middle had problems in their kitchen.
No, cause she got the report. We just had a report in February.
Because we had, the health inspector come January and February. And there were minor things like there was not enough lighting or, the dumpster. She did cite some things like door gaskets in some of our coolers, but that's just, we have got those parts ordered.
Yeah, okay.
And I am aware that Bladen Lakes needs that, steamer, but our maintenance person is.
What about the one across the street?
I don't know of anything across the street.
Oh, okay.
That's the sink though,
It's the
right?
same,
Well, the health lady.
that's already been, we're gonna do that this summer. We can't do it now because they can't serve lunch
Okay.
while they're working on it, but then she wanted a painting sink from the back to the front, by the curtain grill there. We had to dig a hole, cut through the wall to get it to drain out to the septic line. But that'd be a summer project to get to which inspectors, so that would be fine.
Okay.
All right, we'll go to 13. I've reached out to several peers, different boards, and to be honest with you, we're probably the only agenda that has board chair report on it. There is no board chair report on several guys that I reached out to. So to create something. So here's, I'll try to have a couple of things each meeting, but I want to challenge the department chairs. Engage your folks that are inside your departments. Understand what they do every day. understand what they perform every day, praise them, appreciate them, thank them for what they do, because some of them's got big jobs. I think that sometimes they may not always feel that way. So understanding what their job is. I think one thing that I always took pride in was understanding how to do different things inside of the building that I worked in, because I wanted to be not just a store manager, but I wanted to know how to do everything that was there. So it was easier for everybody to relate when everybody understands what everybody's job is and how much there is to do on a daily basis. And I know there's some departments out there that have a lot. So engage your folks, thank them for what they do, but understand what they do. And if you don't know how to do that job, learn how to do that job. It might open your eyes to a lot of things when it comes to, man, I really didn't realize that you do so much. And have flexibility with inside your frameworks out there. You know, there's a lot of things that come down. I understand that the state sends us stuff and sends you guys things to do, but if there are avenues to get a better to get a better performance out of a child, let's talk through it. Maybe that option's out there, and let's utilize that to get a better, because every kid, it's like I was always taught, everybody is different, everybody's managed different, and I'm sure kids, and I've got them, they're all the same. They're not all the same, they're different. So you might have to get through them to a different way. So anytime there's things out there that we can maybe use in conjunction with already curriculums, as long as it is within the guidelines of, and it makes sense and it's approved and those types of things. I'm not telling you to go to left field or right field or do anything out, but if he can get a better performance out of a kid, because kids, need engagement, and a lot of things don't engage them, and you guys deal with that stuff every day. And I got a son that's the same way. He's sharp as a tack, but if something he struggles with, at least he'll ask. Or he says, hey, I need some help. But there's not a lot of kids out there that say I'm struggling with fractions and this and that. I would struggle with fractions if I had to do it in math. But I'm good at percentages, but not fractions. But my point is, let's talk through that with our folks inside, because every day we don't deal with day-to-day situations like everybody does. And let's be mindful of that and be supportive of it. And I think we'll get even better performance out of our kids. Again, Beta Club, what we saw tonight, what we're seeing inside of our schools, our performance, at sports level. I see a lot of things on Facebook. Every school I read, I see what you guys are doing out there. It's unbelievable at the things you guys are putting out there. It's just remarkable. You have to be proud to sit up here. And then I see people that just put us in the ground that we're the worst at this and the worst at that. Well, apparently they can't look at, some people can't see positive. And when you can't see positive, then you probably won't never see positive from that standpoint. So I appreciate what everybody does. I appreciate the board and the commitment that we have to continue to strive to make our schools better out there on a daily basis. So thank you guys. All the way down to the bus drivers, the folks in the lunchrooms that provide food for our kids every day, maintenance of our buildings, and different things like that. Leadership, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything that you do. So,
I got one other thing.
Yes, sir.
Bladenville Middle, someone from Bladenville Middle told me that they were not involved in the beta thing, in the beta program.
Miss Marlowe's always been involved in the she's
Something about reading.
Yeah, she's always been involved
The one
in the beta club. I don't know of anything specific.
My son was in it.
Do what now?
In Beta at Bumber Middle. My son was in it. He went.
What's up with Battle with the Books?
Battle Book, yeah, they did not field a team this time. They said they had some challenges with some student engagement. All were more invested in beta this time, so they did not field a team at Bladenville Middle for Battle of the Books this year.
Okay.
And we've had that a time or two happen there, but it doesn't happen there all the time. But
What happened?
what we were told was that the kids did not have the interest this time. They were more invested in some of the activities with beta. Beta actually has some book things tied with it too. And that was what was shared with us, that they tried to do it, but just didn't have the interest this year. And they didn't feel prepared. They had like 4 or 5 kids, and even they said that the students said they weren't as prepared as they wanted to be because they had done so much with with beta and other activities, it just didn't, obviously when, with children, we don't want them to put them in an uncomfortable situation, but that's what was communicated to us.
Well, to me too.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move on to action item 14, Superintendent report, Dr. Axel.
Thank you, Chairman, Secretary, board members. I'll try to rip this really quickly here. Did share with you all a memo from the School Board Association and pull those policies. There's no action required at this point. They want us to kind of review those. There are obviously some federal things going on. There's actually a couple of state bills that's been introduced. And so we're kind of on hold at this point, but just that us to review there, and they're kind of all over the place. But I did send those, I guess, just for us to kind of be familiar with what's there and see this point. Just wait for additional guidance from the School Board Association. Middle school battle books was today. Tar Heel is the winner. It was a 1-point difference between Tar Heel and Clarkton. And it was a very good competition for them. And so Tar Heel will go on, or just let me say April 1st. Thank you. I've got too many dates going on. April 1st, the regional competition is actually in Lumberton, be at the farmer's market. And so they'll represent us there. Right now, our elementary battle books date is tentatively scheduled for Friday. However, if we have the playoff tournament, and we talked to the elementary coordinator today, they actually said they wouldn't mind having a little additional time. So we're probably going to end up pushing theirs back to the following week. And because their regional is not till a little bit later in April, so they have a little bit of time. So I'll email that once that date's been finalized. So it's tentatively scheduled now for Friday. If we don't have a change in our schedule, we'll probably keep it Friday. If not, it will move back to next week, and I'll send that to you all. As you all know, we had been communicated about doing a training with the School Boards Association. There were some requirements that we had and requests. And right now, it looks like the trainer from the School Board Association can come with us in a work session. I've got a couple of dates here, Monday, March 24th at 6. And the alternative is April 28th at 6. And so I'd like to know what's best for everybody, because they obviously want everyone to try to attend. So would you all want to go with the March 24th date or the April 28th date with the School Board Association?
April.
April date. April better, that give us more time. Everybody, that'll be when we return back from spring break. So if everybody's good with that, I'll lock that in with them, and we'll have our board work session for Monday, April 28th at 6. All right. Right now, unless we have a calendar change with everything, we're scheduled to have early release day on the 27th of March. And then 28th is an optional teacher work day. If we had the championship, we may flip that, and we'll let you all know that. Our district academic award ceremony, we're recognizing those who've been on the superintendent's list or maintain a specific academic average. That's set for Monday, March 31st at 5 o'clock in BCC's auditorium. And I'll send you all an email with that information as well. We do have the School Board Association is actually offering their law conference online. And it'll be April 3rd and the 4th. If you're interested in attending that, I think it's like half day both of those days.
8 to
1. It's at least I think 8 to 12, 8 to 1.
8 to 12.
It's on April 3rd and April 4th.
And we had to register for that before now, is it?
Well, if you let us know by middle of this week, we can get you locked in.
Okay.
That's online. And so, there'll be no travel on that, but if you're interested, let us know. We can get you registered. Very inexpensive. I think it's like $100 for that. So.
Jason, I think we got a middle school baseball game at the Blackburn Middle on the 28th, and it's a away game, so.
It's in Elizabethtown.
Okay. What, do we know what time? If it's
away from Blackburn.
That's normally a 4 o'clock.
Get the children back. Yeah.
And well, we can shift start that back by 30 minutes if we need to, or if y'all be fine with it. Or
What time was it?
except it's a little late.
Yeah.
What time were we gonna do at 6?
Well, I asked when I talked with them. I told her we use our meetings. In most cases, there's 6. Sometimes we have 5. It just depends. Most times it's 6 on our regular schedule. I think she'd be open if we need to back it back a little bit. So we need to go to 6:30 or even 7. I think, I can find, I think, no more about an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, I think is what she would need. But what we can do is I can lock in the date, let her know that our start time may be flexible. Or we might need to start in a window between 6 and 7 potentially. And then we just verify that. Once we have our next meeting, everybody say, what time can we do? And again, just have her hold it for us and we'll lock in the start time if everybody's good with it. Next board meeting is April 14th. We'll celebrate my birthday with you all that night.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to that. We maybe we'll have some cake and enjoy that. I do want to share with you all, Board Docs is actually going away as it is in its current phase. It's the same company, Diligent. So we've started work on the transition process for that. And I've got a web meeting with them next week to kind of talk through some things and start to back up our current data now. It will actually be much more viable for you as board. It'll let you do highlighting notes on your side for you there. It'll set up automatic notifications for when agenda is published, not just for, we always notify y'all, but if someone in the community wants to know when agenda is published, they can sign up, and once it's pushed, they get an email response that it's there. We'll kind of set up for our media outlets that'll help spread that. It will actually streamline our live streaming. It will also do transcripts from the meeting. So if someone has interest to hear about a particular agenda item 3 months after the meeting, they can go click on that item on that agenda. It'll pull up the video at that time to hear that item discussed and any questions that may be there. So it definitely promotes transparency even more so, but it's got a lot of nice features. It will also work on multiple devices. So in the past, we've kind of been limited. So if you happen to have your phone, you want to do it from your phone, you can do it from the phone now versus a computer versus an iPad. So much more options there. A couple of folks already using it. We could even look at capturing our voting through it. And there's all kinds of different features that it will have. They'll also do some training for you all. I think it'll be web-based. And we can schedule that as we start moving. It's probably about 2-3 month process. But we knew it was coming, probably going to end up coming. And they kind of made that notice. So getting in as a little bit earlier now will help us get, more access to that and see those differences there. But so that it'll be, they say it mimics a lot of the features we already have in Board Docs now. So it should be a fairly easy transition for us, but a lot more tools and resources for you all as board members and for the community. Also, citizen participation will transition to an online sign up at that time too. So we'll have to kind of look at that. That makes it where, if someone says, I'm looking at, I want to address the board at a meeting 2 months down the road, you could actually do an early sign up and that kind of thing could be there. So if folks are planning or they're going to have something they want to share, it kind of makes that more open, just having to wait for a list. And then you can actually put those time, a lot of boards have it where it opens up this period, closes this period, and it's advertised out, that link becomes available. So it makes that, more open on that. So just a lot of different features we'll kind of work through. But that is coming and we'll get you that training. Like I said, they'll have multiple options. And do have a dedicated person kind of working with us on that transition. And I think it also has a translate feature stuff on the non-board side. So if someone wanted to view something, I think it's a Google Translate button, they could review that in any language. So that's one plus about the transcripts. Either they might not understand the audio, they can review the transcript. Transcript would be in their native language. So again, that takes away any barriers like that. If it's a family that maybe a Spanish speaking family or another language, then there's a lot of neat things. I think it makes it more compliant. Also addresses more of the ADA compliance in terms of web-based things. And I think that's important. So, and Chairman Secretary Board members, I believe that's all I have for you all tonight. And man, again, we appreciate your support.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Can I get a motion on the floor to adjourn? All those in favor by saying aye. All opposed. Meeting's adjourned.